Happy Monday, Elkhart County Positive Parents. Thanks for joining us. Today we have very exciting guest and topic for today. So thanks for being here. Today in our Triple P team leader, we were talking about how much we are impressed by our parents who join us for Triple P things, and how it's a sign of being a good parent when you're willing to reach out and talk to somebody and get some help and learn new ideas. And so we know that if you're watching this, it means that you're a good parent. So today we have Officer Kris Hershberger, and I'm going to let him introduce himself in a minute, but we also have Emily Herriott. So I'm going to start by, well, I will say, Emily is our Triple P director, coordinator, remember your title? And she is here to interpret the major things we're doing today into Spanish. So I'm going to let Emily introduce herself and say in Spanish how this is going to work.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Espero que algunos de ustedes que hablan español están escuchando. Esta tarde tenemos un invitado que es de policía de las escuelas de Wa-Nee, y él es un experto sobre lo que está pasando con los jóvenes y su uso del internet y sus teléfonos y cosas así, especialmente los problemas que hay. Entonces, vamos a hacer una entrevista con él, y cada vez que él da la respuesta a la pregunta que Ana pregunta, yo lo voy a traducir para que ustedes lo puedan oír en español. Gracias.
All right, thank you, Emily. So, and what she just said is that she's going to interpret my questions, and then she's going to summarize everything Officer Hershberger gives us. And so that's how this is going to work. So, Officer, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody out there in Facebook world, virtual land. My name is Kris Hershberger. I'm the school resource officer, one of two school resource officers for the Wa-Nee Community Schools, and I am employed by the Napanee Police Department.
Excellent. And you have a special interest in internet safety. Could you just tell us a little bit about that side of things for you?
Part of my job as a school resource officer is to, know what the kids are doing and knowing, what social media they're using, and kind of dig into that world and do my best to work with the staff and the administrators at the schools and parents to keep the kids safe while online. Do that in a couple different things, a couple different ways. Through teaching here at the high school. I'm at Northwood High School, to teaching in the classes there, to teaching parent classes, guest instructing, I guess, if you will. I don't want to say I'm a teacher or anything like that. Guest instructor out there. And then also I work for a task force, the Indiana Internet Crimes Against Children.
Thank you. Emily, you want to get that for us?
Entonces, para decirles un poquito más, él es policía, como dije, que trabaja con las escuelas, y él sabe mucho sobre el uso que los adolescentes tienen con las redes sociales y cosas que a veces pasan ahí que no son apropiadas. Entonces, él va a estar compartiendo sobre eso con nosotros para que nosotros tenemos más habilidad de hablar con nuestros hijos y prevenir problemas con ellos.
Yeah, so I think it's been interesting to me talking to you. I've learned a lot about what a school resource officer is and what you do and what your role is and what the distinction is and what the similarities are with another type of police officer. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so your school resource officer, in short, is your police officer that's in the school. Your kids are going to know who your school resource officer is. You may see them at events, basketball games, football games, and you may just look and see the uniform and think that it's just a police officer there that's doing security. But most of the time in those situations, it is your school resource officer. So what we do is, our goal is to bridge the gap between law enforcement and kids. Today's society, the world we live in, kids are taught from a young age. Some kids are taught from a young age that cops are bad. And that they can't be approached. So having a school resource officer, or from now on, I'm going to private the SRO in your school, kind of gives them a different outlook. And we work with the kids, whether it's teaching on drugs and alcohol, cyber safety, or just being there if they've had a bad day. We're kind of a friend, a mentor, sometimes a father figure. if they, don't have that dad in their life or mom in their life. So we kind of wear many hats. Sometimes we're guidance counselors. Very rarely in the schools are we actually police officers. While we do wear the police uniform, if we get to the point where we have to be the police officer, that's usually to a point where that's the worst part of our job, because that means we have to enforce some type of law. And that's not the goal as the program. The program is to, keep kids out of trouble and not get them into the trouble, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Entonces, cada escuela en el condado de Elkhart tiene una policía que trabaja para la escuela, y el rol es diferente que una policía, en el sentido que lo que ellos están tratando de hacer es prevenir que los jóvenes llegan a tener que ir a la cárcel o tener problemas grandes. Entonces, más que todo, lo que ellos están haciendo es educando a los niños sobre drogas, alcohol, cómo manejar bien las redes sociales en sus computadoras, etcétera. Pero cada escuela tiene una de estas personas y son un recurso para sus hijos.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty here with the cyber safety. So what are some, if you just want to give us a brief idea, what are some of the problems you see? What are some of the issues kids are having and families are having and we're all having with cyber safety in general?
Absolutely. So everybody nowadays has this fancy dancy little cell phone that is, attached to us everywhere we go. As adults, we want to have that cell phone on us all the time. We need to be in the know. Even more so kids. Kids, it's easy at a young age to say, hey, go play this game. And we get our kids addicted to these devices. And then we hand them this device that is a computer that is faster than most faster than most computers that you have, and expect them not to get in any trouble on it. They've been using it from a young age because we give it to them to play games on, and then they start getting onto the internet, and what turned out to be just an innocent little, here, take this and play a game while mom or dad talks to somebody, kind of starts this addiction of screen time. We adults, we're very screen addicted as well. I know I could spend less time on social media myself, but the kids need to feel some sense of belonging. They need to feel liked and loved, and that is through social media. They need to have the, whether, I'm going to say Facebook for us parents because that's what we know, likes on Facebook, or, if you heart it or whatever, that is huge to kids. They need to feel that and to feel accepted and loved, which is a scary place to be.
La pregunta fue, ¿qué son algunos de los problemas que ocurren con el internet y el teléfono y todo eso? Y lo que dijo el señor Hershberger es que cuando los niños son jóvenes, muchas veces les damos nuestros teléfonos para jugar juegos porque estamos ocupados o algo así. Pero lo que pasa es que cuando el teléfono ya está conectado al internet, ellos van a poder llegar a ver cosas que muchas veces les pueden causar problemas. Entonces, a jugar juegos cuando son pequeñitos ya puede empezar como una adicción a estar en el teléfono, en la computadora todo el tiempo. Y llegamos muchas veces nosotros como adultos y nuestros hijos a un punto donde es por el teléfono, por el Facebook o por otras redes sociales que ya sabemos que la gente nos gusta porque nos dan un corazoncito o una sonrisa en el Facebook o algo así.
Right, when you said that, I had just gone and told my kids that they could play Xbox on a weekday, which they're normally not allowed to because I had to do Triple P Live. So I sent them away to do that. So I thought, oh, yep, there I am. Okay, that was helpful. So some of this can be fine, right? Like they're socializing. Sometimes they're just setting up things to do in real life, especially during COVID. All of a sudden we're saying like, you don't need to go see people. Why don't you just talk to them, online? So how do we know when we're going from a reasonably healthy sort of social media diet to something that's becoming a problem? What would you look for?
Absolutely. Social media is not all bad. And I think that's important for you to relay with your child. I use social media for a bunch of different things. We keep in touch with people we don't always see, whether it's organizing multiple sporting events and, baseball signups or that kind of thing. We use it for good. Kids can use it for good as well. Where it crosses that line is when we don't know what they're doing on their cell phone. When I say we, I mean us parents. So if I don't know what my daughter or my son's doing on the cell phone, that's my job to know what they're doing. So I kind of got to get a little nosy. I was told that we are helicopter parents for all of you out there. If you are one that wants to know what they're doing all the time, we are helicopter parents. I think that's great. I take that as a badge of honor because that means I'm making sure that I'm doing what I need to make sure that the kids are safe. Kind of some warning signs I think to look for. If you don't know what the app is or what it is, obviously finding out about that. But with TikTok being out there, being so big, the kids dancing and doing their thing, how are they dancing? What's the music that they're listening to while they're doing this? What kind of clothes are they wearing when they're doing this? Because when I look through that kind of thing, I look through it through the eyes of a predator. Obviously I've investigated several child predators before and continue to do that. I look for what is the student portraying or the kid portraying to be, because I want to know that in turn tells me how that predator is going to look at him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That way I can go to them and say, hey, I know this looks innocent and this is what you're doing, but you're really putting yourself out there and it's making it look like this. Very, unfortunately, our teenage girls are very sexualized now. It is not about, everything's about looks and it's very sexual. The dancing that they're doing, the music lyrics that they're listening to, as they're doing their TikToks, it's very, very sexual, very graphic, where they wouldn't be doing that if they knew mom and dad was paying attention.
Bueno, la verdad es que nuestros hijos usar su teléfono, estar en el internet, usar las redes sociales, no es todo malo. Eso les da como una conexión a familia o amigos, no es todo malo, pero cuando puede empezar a ser un problema es cuando ya no sabemos de verdad lo que están haciendo. El señor Hershberger dijo que alguien le ha llamado como un padre que es un helicóptero que siempre está mirando a lo que están haciendo sus hijos, y él dice, eso está bien conmigo, porque a lo mínimo voy a saber lo que está pasando. Muchas veces, mucho de lo que estamos viendo ahorita es que los jóvenes están siendo muy sexuales en las redes sociales, si sea TikTok o en otros. Entonces queremos averiguar qué están enseñando a nuestros hijos, al público, porque ellos no saben que hay personas malas que están mirando eso, que ya van a verlos como que, oh, ¿cómo puedo conocer a esa jovencita o ese jovencito? Entonces mirar a lo que ellos están mirando como si ustedes fueran una de esas personas.
Yeah, what I'm hearing there is you can't know there's a problem unless you know enough to know what they're doing. You're not just going to pick up warning signs unless you know what they're doing. So that's helpful. So do you recommend parental controls? This is a question we get a lot. And if so, like, how do you choose one? What are some things related to that?
Yes. So parental controls, they do work. I have some on obviously my phone and my kids' phone. It can work as a double-edged sword if it's not presented, I think, correctly. Kids, when they find out you're getting parental controls put on, oh, you don't trust me. You think I'm a bad kid. When it's totally not that. I don't think that my kids are bad kids, but I understand that they could fall victim to cyber issues, stuff like that. So explaining to them, hey, I'm not putting these on your phone because I don't trust you. I just need to know that the content that you're looking at, the stuff you're being exposed to, the stuff that I approve of, and you can set those up to whether you want them, rated G, PG-13 type stuff, and then the music that they listen to. And if my daughter tries to download a social media app, it will not let her because I've got them blocked, because I know what they are going to be exposed to on there. So having that conversation with them of, hey, I do trust you. I think you're a great kid. This is for your protection. And really having that one-on-one conversation with them about the whys behind it, not just, hey, give me your phone, I'm putting this on there, because then it goes, they don't trust me. And then that spirals downhill to other issues. But having the one-on-one conversations of, the whys behind it is absolutely necessary. And then to continue to have those talks later on, not just this one time, find out what everybody else is being exposed to at school. Because just because you don't allow it on your child's phone doesn't mean that they're not seeing it on their friend's phone. That's what I'm finding out as the parent of a 13-year-old daughter is, just because I don't allow it doesn't mean she's not seeing it on her friends' devices and making TikToks and doing all that stuff that all the kids are doing. But understanding why we don't, the values and morals behind why we don't want that. Not that the kids that are doing it are bad. It's just, we're protecting you because this is what we want for you.
Me imagino que todos ustedes han oído que hay controles parentales que se puede poner en el teléfono o la computadora de nuestros hijos para como protegerlos. Eso sí funciona, pero la cosa importante con estos es cómo lo hacemos con nuestros hijos. Es importante no solo hacerlo, pero hablar con ellos antes de hacerlo y decirles a ellos, no es que no confío en ti, es que yo estoy haciendo esto para protegerte a ti. Tú eres un buen hijo, es que cosas pueden pasar. Y después de tener esa conversación, continuar la conversación, chequear con ellos, averiguar si están usando los teléfonos, etcétera, de sus amigos y explicarles qué son nuestros valores, por qué es que estamos poniendo esos tipos de límites.
I love that. It's very, very triple B, the communication. So even with the parental controls, there still are, you already said, there are so many ways they can still get into trouble. So what are some other things you do to prevent problems or to kind of get ahead of some of these, you know what all the most extreme possibilities are. What are some of the ways you try to help them get ahead of that?
Again, it comes back to the relationship between you and your child. If you got to have them think through, okay, what happens if, what happens if a boy asks me to send a naked picture of myself? Or what happens if a boy sends me a naked picture? What happens if they ask me, plan those out ahead of time, because if you have a daughter, it's going to happen. This is not just, here in Elkhart County, this is nationwide. This is socially acceptable now. In the media, over social media, as much skin as possible, it's socially acceptable. So again, going back to having that conversation of what are you going to do if this question's asked? That way they've thought about it, and they don't ever want to be like, well, my mom and dad said I can't because, they're going to get made fun of, building them up to, hey, I'm better than that. I'm not going to, especially for the young girls, I'm better than that. I'm not going to, show you my body just because you want to see it. And having those one-on-one conversations. I keep going back to that point because it's very, very, very important. Giving them an out. I always tell my daughter specifically, if you don't want to do something, if somebody's asking you, hey, can you go here? Hey, my dad said I can't. Having that out planned out all the time. If she's somewhere and it's getting uncomfortable, shooting me a text and just basically saying, hey, I need you to call me, which basically says, call me and tell me it's time to come home. That kind of situation, giving them a way to save face, because as a teenager, saving face is a big deal, because they get labels if they don't do some get labels if they do what they're supposed to do, and others if they don't. So giving them a way to save face, and at the expense of the parent, I'm totally willing to allow my kids to use me as a pawn to keep them safe, if that makes sense.
It does.
Bueno, entonces la próxima pregunta es, aunque a veces ponemos cosas para prevenir problemas, todavía tenemos que tener las conversaciones con nuestros hijos diciendo que algo todavía puede ocurrir. Y lo que el señor Hershberger dice es que la cosa más importante aquí es la relación que tenemos con nuestros hijos. Esto es muy, muy importante, que ellos tienen confianza en nosotros. Es bueno ayudarles a nuestros hijos a pensar antes, ¿qué puede pasar? Por ejemplo, hija, si un niño te pide que pones una foto de ti en tu teléfono donde estás desnuda, ¿qué vas a decir? Y mejor no solo decir porque mi mami y mi papi no le gusta, pero para poder decir, no, yo no voy a enseñar mi cuerpo, eso no está bien, y que ella sabe que eso está malo. Pero también siempre puede trabajar, usar a nosotros como padres en situaciones difíciles para nuestros hijos. Por ejemplo, si están en una fiesta y cosas están empezando a pasar que no les gusta a nuestra adolescente, ellos siempre pueden decir, voy a mandar un texto a mi padre, a mi madre, para que vienen a recogerme. Y otra vez, eso tiene que ver con la relación que tenemos con nuestros hijos, que ellos tienen la confianza en nosotros para decir, estoy incómodo con algo, puedo llamar a mis padres.
So then if the worst should happen, or even not the totally worst, but just something bad, either the kid gets into trouble through something that they do themselves that they weren't supposed to do, or something bad happens to them not in that way. Like, I just find this the hardest thing about parenting is that here's my expectation for you, but I also need you to tell me, even if you do something that's not right. I mean, that's just really hard. Do you have any ideas, thoughts, suggestions on how to handle that?
So, in the big thing, obviously, in the high school and middle school age is the sending nude photographs back and forth. It's important that they know if they do mess up, and they do send that image, that it's very important that they let their parents know. And this sounds crazy, let your parents know or let somebody know, because if we can find it soon enough, we can get it off of devices. So if I know, that somebody sends something to somebody here at the school and that's the only place it's gone, I can go get that phone, wait for a parent to come and make sure we get rid of that image before it gets spread. Because what happens is, we're in love, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, we're going to get married, and they're picking out their, house decor as freshmen. And then, the next day, Johnny looks at Sally wrong, and then here we go. Well, then the boys usually are going to share the images with their friends. They're not together anymore. And this happens so often in high schools everywhere, middle schools everywhere. And so having that awareness of, I need to let somebody know because I need help getting that image back. And the thing about it is, and the scary part about it is once it's sent, there's no guarantee that we're ever going to be able to get it back. But we will. And when I say we, your school resource officers are very in tune with this. They know, they've built trust with the kids. I've had kids come to me and say, hey, I screwed up. I did exactly what you told me not to do. And, will you help me? Absolutely. Well, of course, the first thing we got to do is call parents. Then we spend time kind of advocating for the kid of, yes, they made a horrible mistake. And I'm not saying that that's not the case, but this is how they've arrived at that mistake. Let's figure out how to get that image or images or messages back. And then we'll deal with the consequences later. The most important part is getting that information back.
Bueno, con todo esto, a veces otra vez cosas sí pasan, y una de las cosas que el señor Hershberger dice que es más común en estos días en los middle schools y los high schools es niñas que se toman fotos de ellas desnudas o parte desnudas que los mandan a los novios, y después cuando la relación se quiebra, cuando ya no son novios, a veces el novio lo manda a sus amiguitos. Entonces eso es algo muy común que está pasando en estos días. Entonces, lo que queremos decir a nuestros hijos es, si algo así te pasa a ti, puedes venir a mí. Otra vez, la confianza entre padre e hijos es muy importante aquí, porque si los padres van a la policía en la escuela, ellos pueden ayudar a quitar esa foto del teléfono antes que se va virtual y que todo el mundo lo vea. La relación es muy importante, que los niños vienen a nosotros y que nosotros decimos, no puedes hacer ninguna cosa que no me puedes decir a mí. Y vamos a hablar sobre cómo te vamos a disciplinar mañana, pero hoy, ¿qué hacemos sobre esta foto?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of wisdom here. I feel like I want to watch back through this and kind of think about some of these things for myself. So is there anything I haven't asked you, anything else you want to say, burning on your heart and mind that you want to say?
Nothing burning, but, you know, do your research on the applications that the kids are putting on their phones. You know, obviously your most important ones are going to be TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. They're not using Facebook as much anymore because mom and dad, grandma and grandpa are using Facebook. You know, look for extra accounts, look for vaults on your cell phone. This is kind of going a little deeper, but, you know, look for things that are on there that don't make sense. 2 calculators on your phone. No phone comes with 2 calculators installed on it. One of those is a vault that hides things. You know, ask the hard questions to your kids. And, you know, if there is and look at the app sizes. If it takes so much storage in your phone just to download it on your phone, and you look at your kids and it's so much bigger, that means there's data inside of that app. And what are they putting in there? What are they trying to hide from you? You know, I would love to say that we all raise perfect children and they're great. They are kids. They're going to make mistakes. No kid is above making mistakes. I've seen the greatest kids ever, and they make a bonehead decision that they've got to deal with now. So don't think your kid's above it. I certainly don't think mine are above it, and they get drilled pretty hard with my profession I'm in. So understand that it's going to things are going to happen, and it's not always taking their phone. I asked a group of freshman girls, I said, if you were to receive an image from a boy, a nude image, would you tell your parents? They said no. And when I asked why, they said, because my parents will take my phone. Now that girl did not ask, those girls didn't ask for the picture. The boy just sent it. And they were afraid to tell their parents because they'll lose their phone. That would be like us losing our car keys to drive somewhere. So just because they do the right thing, you have to, you know, kind of reward them like, okay, I don't really want you having your phone, but you did the right thing. So don't put up so many boundaries that you can't go back and make it right with them, is a very important thing. But those apps that I just named, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, those are ones that you really want to pay attention to. They are using those like crazy.
Bueno, para terminar, lo que dice el señor Hershberger es que es muy importante que ustedes como padres entienden los apps que están usando nuestros hijos. Los 3 más populares son el TikTok, Snapchat y Instagram. Y tenemos que entender cómo los están usando, qué están viendo allí. Si de verdad uno de ustedes no sabe qué está pasando, no entiende qué hacer con el teléfono, siempre puede llamar a la escuela y pedir que una de esta policía le ayuden a ustedes. Y también el punto muy importante aquí es que ninguno de nuestros hijos son perfectos. A veces van a hacer cosas problemáticas. Esa es la vida. Todos hacemos eso de vez en cuando. Lo más importante es que ellos pueden venir a usted y decir, mira, esta cosa me pasó, alguien me mandó una foto de alguien desnudo, etcétera. Y no solo quitarles el teléfono, porque si solo quitamos el teléfono no nos van a decir la verdad, pero decir, ok, gracias por venir a mí, vamos a ver qué vamos a hacer sobre esto y continuar con esta relación abierta y posiblemente dar una consecuencia apropiada si vale.
So I understand you have an event coming up with Napanee Public Library where you'll get more in depth on a lot of this. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I had it wrote down. I do stuff with the Napanee Public Library where I come in and kind of dissect sorry, I'm not looking at you guys, but I'm going to look that date up.
May 24th, I think you had said, Chris?
May 24th at 7 p.m. right now, tentatively. We're going to be at the Napanee Public Library. That's open to anybody that wants to come. I take time and dive into specific apps and show you different places where kids are hiding things from parents, you know, really explaining what the app does, you know, how I see that it's dangerous, and how, you know, how predators are using it, and just kind of working with you guys. And a lot of times, you know, I learned from that too. Just because I'm, you know, wearing this uniform doesn't mean I have all the answers. This is a team effort. We all learn together, and I just spread kind of what I see in the schools, and dive into the apps. And a lot of times you don't see, parents don't understand what the apps are, and the kids know that. They're going to push the limits. They do all the time. And so I kind of help with that a little bit. If you choose to bring your child with you, that's fine. It does get, I do kind of get a little blunt at times about what is being done. And so just keep that in mind. But it's a good time. We've had good feedback from it in the past. And I know you guys, did both of you guys sit in on one? Or I know maybe one of you did. And just kind of roll with it.
Bueno, y el 24 de mayo probablemente el señor Hershberger va a estar dando una presentación donde él va a ir más a fondo sobre todo esto en la biblioteca pública de Napanee. Va a ser en inglés, pero todos están invitados y pueden mirar para más información sobre eso.
So we are going to have, so you heard a lot about SROs. That was somewhat new information to me. So we're going to put Officer Hershberger's information in on this post. So you should be able to see that by the time you're seeing this. I think he said he is happy to have people reach out to him. He also can put you in touch with your SRO, or you can contact your SRO directly if you feel like there is a problem, or if you want to learn more about what's happening in your school or what to look out for. That is a fantastic resource that's available to us. And then, of course, contact us. I will quote the source again. There is no wrong door in Elkhart County. So if you come to us, we can help you get in touch. Officer Hershberger refers to us at Triple P. Our role largely would be to help you think through your particular family situation and what might it look like to have some screen time guidelines, and what might that conversation look like. So feel free to reach out to us and we can help you plan ahead for that and be ready if you feel like there are some things you want to do that you might need a little extra support in doing. So let us know about that. Our phone number is 574-226-0160, info@trippleplkartcounty.org, and then we have our elkhartcountyparents.org. Why don't you say this, Emily, and then,
Ok, entonces si quieren más información o ayuda, nosotros siempre estamos ahí para ustedes. Más que todo, lo que nosotros podemos hacer es ayudarles a conectar a otros recursos o ayudarles a hacer un plan de cómo poner límites que tienen que ver con las pantallas en la casa con sus hijos. Y nos pueden siempre llamar al 574-226-0160. 226-0160. Gracias.
and a little fun fact, Emily's the one that answers that phone. So now you have a face.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for being here, Officer Hershberger. We really, really, really appreciate the collaboration. And Emily and all of us, we will be back here next week at 4 o'clock for another Facebook Live. And in the coming months, we have some more exciting guests. So stick with us. And in the meantime, thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful, and we'll be in touch.